Shalom, shalom, it's your brother. Start by giving all glory, honor, praises unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kodash. All the honors to the elders and apostles of your millstone to teach and move well. Peace and salutations be to the Lord for elect. By that Tazwan, coming at you from the prophets in Babylon, camped in Tampa, Florida. This is going to be going into end time headlines article where it says grocery prices have risen to the highest they've ever been in 3 years, or to the highest amount in 3 years. Okay, which you had another raise in prices back in 2020 during the whole C9 crisis. Okay. But that was the excuse, was the C9, right? But there is no excuse. What is the excuse now? All right, there's no crisis. There's no real emergency going on right now. Okay, so what is the excuse for the prices in the groceries this time? All right. What you could say, tariffs. Okay. But really, it's because we're in the last days, and these things are happening because the Lord is pouring His Spirit out in the earth. So these prophecies are coming to pass and unfolding the way they should. All right. Let me see. See if I can grab the article online, because whenever I go on the app, it stops my recording. All right. So we're in there. It says grocery prices spiked to highest level in 3 years. It says, in a stark reminder of the ongoing cost of living crisis, new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics reveals that grocery prices across the United States have surged to the highest levels in 3 years. Families are feeling the pinch as everyday staples like coffee, tomatoes, and beef become pricier. All right, tomatoes. Which I've actually seen a video of somebody recording the price of tomatoes. How the prices went up. Okay. Which, let's see if look it up and see where America gets their tomatoes from. Does America's Alright, so it says where it does America's tomatoes come from. It says America's imports the vast majority of its fresh tomatoes, about 90%, from Mexico, with Mexico being the largest global exporter of fresh tomatoes to the U.S. While the United States sources tomatoes from other countries, Mexico's dominance in the fresh tomato import market is substantial, with its volume and value of exports growing significantly over the past few decades. All right. So it says market share. It says Mexico's share of the U.S. market for fresh tomatoes has grown substantially, reaching nearly 70% of the market in recent years. All right, and let's see how much of the percentage of tariffs that's been placed on Mexico. Let's check that. Mexico tariff percentage. So here it is. All these people that voted for Trump are now mourning for the food prices. Which he said he was going to bring the food prices down. You know, which the food prices from before he got into office versus now, man, those prices seem like they were cheap. I forgot that they were even expensive. How expensive these grocery prices are now. It's still loading. So lock it, bear with me. But and the food is only getting more expensive as time goes on. Because the supply and demand is becoming greater. Alright? It's getting to a point where all these nations are arguing with each other and putting tariffs on each other's economies. Their economies are collapsing from this. Okay? So Trump is trying to destroy the economy and doing so, hoping that everybody will come back to the American dollar, the US dollar, which is not going to happen, man. They still don't want to give me nothing. It says general rate. Most Mexican goods that do not meet USMCA rules of origin face a 25% tariff. That rate has been in effect since March 4th, 2025, after a 1-month delay. Okay, so they're saying there's a 25% tariff on Mexico. I thought there was more. I thought it was higher, but maybe I'm thinking of China. All right, but yeah, Trump's got tariffs placed upon Mexico, and it's not only affecting Mexico, but it's affecting the people that live in the U.S. It may not affect the rich, but it's affecting the poor. Okay, and these people are really starving. All right, just struggling to barely get by, and those extra dollars and those groceries are not helping, man. Okay, for tomatoes, let's look at the price of tomatoes. Average price of tomatoes today. Tomatoes today versus 3 years ago. It says today, September 25. Recent reports indicate a new tariff on Mexican tomatoes went into effect in August 2025. So previously from the 25% in March, it says in August 2025, ending a previous agreement. This change is expected to raise prices significantly, with potential increases of up to 50% for consumers. So there's a 50% increase. All right. And the tomatoes, so lucky. It says 3 years ago, September 2022 and July 2022, the USDA reported that the national monthly average price for fresh field-grown tomatoes was $1.85 per pound, a 11-cent decrease from 2020. The average price received by farmers at farm level was 56 cents per pound. Let's see. Market fluctuations. Tomato prices are influenced by various market factors, including domestic production, weather conditions in growing regions, and import costs. Trade agreement and tariffs. The suspension of this 2019 U.S.-Mexico suspension agreement is a major factor, as it led to a new 17% tariff on Mexican tomatoes starting in August 2025. Okay. So let's get back into this article. Where it says, the report highlights, in the end times headlines, it says, the report highlights sharp increases in several key food categories. Instant coffee prices have jumped up by 4.9%, reflecting volatility in global commodity markets. Tomatoes are up 4.5%, while beef roasts have risen by 4%. Apples and lettuce each saw a 3.5% hike, making fresh produce less affordable for many households. Okay, it says earlier this year, egg prices shattered records, with the average cost of a dozen large eggs reaching $6.23 in March, more than double the price from the previous 12 months, after climbing nearly 6% for the third straight month. So you got certain things that's being affected heavily in the markets, man. Okay, and people are suffering from these things. This is gonna cause uproars, riots. All right. Let's grab it. Second Ezra's. It says, Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 20. Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. The evils are only going to grow. Okay, the victuals was so good, cheap. All right, people are starting to mourn for those cheap tomatoes. People were mourning for those cheaper egg prices. Okay, and then when the eggs got in the stores, these people ran in there and panic bought them all up. All right, when water went up during hurricanes or whatever, doing C9, people went in and bought them all up. All right, because they were panic buying, and it made the prices of water go up even higher. All right, but now here it is. There's tariffs placed on these tomatoes, and we're not in a hurricane. There isn't no natural disaster happening right now. Nobody knows when those tariffs are going to go down, or even if they will go down. Okay, this is a steady price hike because of the tariffs placed upon the tomatoes in Mexico. All right, and people are begging Trump to just compromise or do something at this point to keep food on their tables for their families. But now these people are starting to see less items on the shelves as desirable as they used to be. So now they're seeing fewer items in their household because of these price hikes. All right, and the rise in the price of food. And someone once said, if you control the food, you control the people. Okay, one of these elites said that shit, man. But the fact that these food prices are rising, these people are going to start to panic. Okay, because it's putting a steady stress upon them. All right, a steady war, a constant worry that's upon them every day. All right, the people are starting to become more aware of their mortality. The fact that they can die. All right, the fact that they can starve, the fact that they can get sick, the fact that they can get fired from their job and may not have enough. A lot of people have been getting fired from their federal jobs too. They're speaking up against Charlie Kirk and their federal jobs that was funding all these single so-called black moms. These people are getting fired from these things because the victuals are not coming. All right. It says, Slovakia, not the victuals. The gathering is not coming. Slovakia. Victuals shall be so good, cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So the famine is growing. It's only getting worse. It says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. All right, it's gonna be a terrible sight, because a lot of these people are gonna starve to death. Okay, how bad is it gonna be for many of these people in America to be starving to death? Where all the food gonna go? You know, which is why it's so important and imperative that you get this truth while you still can. Okay, because to starve to death is a terrible way to die. It says, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be casted down. So it ain't gonna just be your friendly neighborhood Tommy that's laying in the middle of the street, starved out, or shot up, robbed. Okay, it's gonna be everybody. It's gonna be It's gonna be a whole neighborhood. It's gonna be a whole city. It's gonna be a whole state. The whole country is gonna be in a great peril. All right, let's grab it. The Book of Lamentations. All right, so let's see. The GNT, Lamentations 4:9 says, those who died in the war were far better. Salakia. Those who died in the war were better off than those who died later, who starved slowly to death, with no food to keep them alive. It says, and this is talking about the siege, but how much more now? It says, the hands of loving mothers cooked their own children. The children were used for food by my people when they were being destroyed by a blockade, which is the siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD. All right. But you had, which in that time you had mothers cooking their children and eating them for the very want of bread and the very thirst of water. They were eating their own children and cooking them. All right, taking turns cooking each child. Okay, that's how terrible the famine was. And these people start hallucinating. They start looking at their children like a snack. They start looking at their friend or their neighbor like a snack, getting ready to cook them. Okay, for the craving of flesh, the craving of meat, the craving of, really it's the body craving protein and the nutrients that come with it. And you start looking at somebody else as if they're a chicken leg or a turkey leg or whatever, man. All right, it says, oh, that was a GWT, Salakia. The GNT says, the disaster that came to my people brought horror. Loving mothers, okay, it said not any random mother, not the ostrich mother. It says, loving mothers boiled their own children for food. They love their children, but they boil them to eat them for food. All right. But the time we coming into, as the scriptures say, let's grab it. Because this was during the siege in Jerusalem. People were eating their children. That's how bad it was. It says, Matthew 24:21, but then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. All right. So we're coming to a time of great tribulation. All right, since it's not like any that we've ever seen. We gonna need help. Gonna need the Lord. All right, it says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. For the Lord's elect, those days gonna be shortened. Okay? That's how terrible it's about to get. You thought 70 AD was bad. You thought 1619 was bad. All right? It's about to get a lot worse, man. Okay? Let's grab it. In the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine. So this is the beginning of famine. You've never seen famine before. This is going to make 70 AD look like nothing. It says, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? We're going to trust in the Lord, man. All right? Because this is when things really about to kick off. The Lord's anger is waxed hot, and he's about to accomplish all those threats that he sent out long ago. All right, so I truly hope this lesson was edifying to you. I cannot worth to listen to true sincerity. Next time, inshallah, I give all glory, honor, and praises unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Shalom.